Hola friends, welcome to the Medicine, Marriage, and Money YouTube channel, the only channel for physicians who want to achieve marital interdependence and financial freedom together. On this channel, you will learn how to show up as the best version of yourself so that you can love intentionally and build a more financially savvy relationship with your spouse. And I am your host, a physician mom, a doctor's wife, a Gottman leader, a certified life and marriage coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Hello, sweet friends. Hello, hello, hello. Aloha. Howdy, y'all. This is yours truly, Kate Mangona, the host of the Medicine, Marriage, and Money podcast and YouTube channel and coaching program. And I am here. I am back. Okay, so today we are going to talk about 8 steps to get more love, compassion, and playfulness in your relationship. And I just came back from the most amazing conference ever. And I witnessed some amazing transformational experiences from some audience members. So I'm going to share 2 stories when I start to talk about the 8 steps to achieve more love, to create more compassion, to be more playful in your relationship. So let's get into it. Number 1, I just want to briefly talk about the manual, and you have to be aware of it. For those of you who have been in my programs or who have graduated from the life coach school, you know what the manual is. We even talked about it a few weeks ago when Dr. Judith Borger was on my podcast. So the manual is that encyclopedia of rules and expectations that you have for your spouse. So they have to speak with you in that certain tone. They have to hug you when they come home from work. They have to kiss you before they leave to go pick up the kids. They have to help you take the groceries out of your car as soon as you drive up from the driveway. They have to let you know if they're going to be late from work 5 minutes or longer. They have to, all the things that they have to do in order for you to feel good, in order for you to feel loved. And so all the things they have to do, and then all the things that they can't do. So again, they can't talk to you in that tone of voice. They can't say those words to you. They can't, and within reason here, okay, within reason, I'm not talking about anything on the border, on the lines of abusive, emotional, throwing, physical. Okay, we're talking about just the manual, they have to follow these rules if they're going to love me properly. So the first step is being aware of your own manual and writing them down. So I just want to start with this story from just earlier this week. One of the audience members at the conference I was at raised her hand, and she was called on, and she said, "My father doesn't love me anymore." And I don't know if you've ever felt that way about your spouse or a family member or a friend, that they just didn't love you anymore. They didn't like you anymore. You weren't enough for them. And then what, right? So then we went deeper. So why? Tony, I was at a Tony Robbins conference, so Tony asked, why? Why do you think your dad, and in your case, you can be thinking spouse, or whoever you need to be thinking about in this context, why do you think he doesn't love you anymore? And she said, well, because I recently got married, and the whole audience is like, yay, congratulations. Okay, thank you. And my father didn't come to my wedding. Okay, silence. So she just got married, and her father didn't come to her wedding. Okay. A lot of you guys are probably wondering, okay, what are the details? Some of you guys are like, well, how rude. My father didn't come to my wedding, or my family member, I can totally relate to her. So we have to dig a little deeper. Okay, so why didn't your father come to your wedding? Well, he was really excited about it. He even bought the white suit. He was planning to attend. And then I told him he couldn't bring my stepmom. He could only come alone. Pause. Hold up. Okay. So let me get this straight. Your father doesn't love you because he didn't come to your wedding because you told him that he could only come alone and wasn't allowed to bring his wife. Yes, she said. If he really loved me, he would have still come. Okay. What do you think she's ignoring? His hurt, his sadness, his anger, his disappointment, his feelings of disrespect, right? There's a whole blanket of things underneath that she skipped over in order to get to, he doesn't love me. He didn't come to my wedding. And why I share this with you guys now is because I want you to think about your own situation, your own life. And maybe the next time, you can either think about the past or think forward to the future about the next time that you might think, my spouse, they're being too mean to me. They're being disrespectful. They really don't love me. They're not showing it. And then start to dig deeper. Okay, well, what's my manual about them here? What's my expectations? And then the second step, okay, we're of these 8 steps, is which of these are thought errors? And a thought error, I like to think of as just your brain playing a little trick on you. Not that it's your fault. It's completely normal. We all have these. They are given to us. They're innately inside of us because of our primitive, our midbrain, our hindbrain, the brain that was developed centuries ago that helps us survive in this world, especially before we've developed. When say it was just the animal kingdom, it helped us survive before we were able to think about how far we've come 20 years from now, 100 years from now. We have the outside brain that knows so much more. But the inside brain takes over, especially when that amygdala starts firing off anger, frustration, sadness. So that thought error is realizing that your emotions are taking over and kind of creating these thoughts that are lying to you. So her lie was, my father doesn't love me anymore. He doesn't love me anymore because he didn't come to my wedding. She was forgetting all these things, right? The expectations she had built for him. You can't bring your wife to my wedding. You have to come, and this is the only way you can love me, right? She was putting a little box, if he fits into this little box, he loves me. If he's here or there or out here or on the other side of the block or in this country or this state, he doesn't love me. See how hard it is to accept love from your person, from your father or your spouse, if you put him in this little box? That's making it really hard. So identify your manual, identify those thought errors. Number 3, can you imagine another way? So after you've identified your manual, and I would even recommend writing this down. If you're driving while you're listening to this, don't do this now. Although I do know some people who keep a pad and a pen on their dashboard and write things down as they're driving because they don't want to lose. Your car can do that now, you guys. If you have updated car systems, your cars can create voice memos. I know my Kia Carnival can. So I want you to write down what your thoughts are. If you're in a place, if you're stuck, if you're thinking they don't love you anymore, or they're treating you mean, or they're coming at you just disrespectfully. Write down your fears. Write down all your thoughts and then circle which is fact. Okay? And then X out and star the ones that could be fiction. Okay? And those are the ones that could not be proven in a court of law. Like, he doesn't love me anymore. How do you prove that in a court of law? He didn't come to my wedding. Okay, that would be a fact. He doesn't love me anymore, it would be a fiction. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fictions And we're going to go to step 3 with those. So take your top 2 fictions and go to the next step, which is 3. Can you imagine it any other way? So I will tell you, this woman continued to go through this exercise, and she had a lot of buts. Tony kept helping her through it. Can you imagine how he must have felt? This is what I want you to do now. I want you to, in step number 3, take yourself out of your own body. And this is hard to do, and it's not that she was selfish, and it's not that you are selfish or your spouse. It's that you have to take yourself out of your own body and put yourself in their brain, behind their glasses, in their shoes, or take that overhead appearance as God, as the universe. What can you imagine another way here? Can you imagine how they're feeling right now? Can you imagine what they're thinking right now? And this, you might need a little bit more time to sink in. You might want to ask them or not. Maybe you want to talk about this with your coach. Maybe you want to talk about this with a friend who's unbiased, which is hard, which is why I recommend hiring a coach. And then after you've kind of sorted through, you can really imagine another way of thinking through things. This is, I will tell you, the part that people get stuck on, and they want to keep going back to number 1, the manual. But he was supposed to, he bought the suit, he was supposed to come. He just says he doesn't love me anymore. They want to go back to number 2 and hold on to those little lies in our brain that little gnomes are telling us because they're trying to keep us back in the 1600s BC. Okay? This is where the real work comes in. Can you imagine another way? Close your eyes. Imagine it. Don't close your eyes if you're driving. But this might be something you want to do when you're waking up, or when you're falling asleep, or when you're kind of just in a little bit more meditative state. What's another possibility here? When you can get that, let's go on to step number 4. Are you telling them what it is you want? Okay, well, back to the story. This girl, she did tell her father she wanted her to come to her wedding, and she wanted her to come without her stepmom. Okay, so she told her. Not everybody does. You might not be telling your significant other, your lover, your spouse, your family member, what it is you want. Sometimes we think we are telling people what we want, when really we're just assuming. We know what that means. And sometimes we think they should know, and we think we shouldn't have to tell them, which is just keeping the poison alive inside of us. So are you telling them exactly what you want? Okay, if not, then do it. Tell them. And I want you to be careful, not with the expectation that they will start doing exactly what it is that you want them to do. In this story here, obviously, he didn't come to her wedding because she put up this barriers and completely ignored his thoughts and feelings about everything, about a lifetime, 3 to 4 decades, I would say 3 decades of love her father had poured upon her. And then this one thing, everything melted apart. Okay, so tell them what you want. Not with the realization that they will reciprocate it or give it to you, but so that they know, so that they're aware. Maybe there's room for negotiation, which is win-win, should be win-win. Okay, in this situation, it didn't happen. In yours, it will. And it can if you make it happen. And then number 5. Who would you be without this thought, number 2? That thought error. Who would you be? This is going back to Katie Byron Katie, a great American thought leader. She asks these 4 questions that can revolutionize your life. And one of them is, who would you be without this thought? Who would you be? If she didn't think that her father didn't love her, she wouldn't have been not picking up the phone to call him for months. She wouldn't have been playing these tricks on herself for the past several months. She wouldn't be in misery and creating these miserable experiences for herself for the past several months, which has prevented him from visiting her, her from visiting him, more love to be shared amongst their family, she would be a completely different person. And I guarantee you, without your manual and thought errors, you would be a completely different person too. You would have more love, more compassion, and playfulness. So number 6, who do you want to be here in your relationship? I suggest loving, compassionate, and playful. That's what I'm suggesting in the title, the name, the aura of this podcast, this episode today. You can choose your own. Not everybody chooses to be more loving, playful, or compassionate, although I definitely suggest you start and you try with those. But who do you want to be in this relationship? And I think after an hour or more of coaching, Tony got her to kind of realize or see all of the fact versus fiction, all of her thought errors, and how she wanted to show up. And he had her get her phone out and call her father for the first time in months. And she said, well, I already know he's not going to answer. And Tony said, do it anyway. We're going to leave a message. Well, I don't know what to say. Well, and he said, well, I will tell you what to say, which is great if you have a coach, right? And if you don't, who do you want to be? Because sometimes it's not about what you say or how you say it. It's who you want to be while you're present, while you're saying it. And if you let that take over and guide you, if you let the love, the compassion, the playfulness guide you, you don't have to have a script. You don't have to worry about what to say, because when you're in that love or that compassion or that playfulness, it will guide you through. And I'm going to give you 2 tips and 2 things I walked away through after this experience and the second day of this conference. Is number 7. This may be a mantra you want to repeat. This may be something you want to write on your wall, on your phone, stick up next to your bedstand or your mirror when you're getting ready for in the morning. When they get angry, you could put he or she in there. When he gets angry, I will get compassionate. When they get frustrated, when he gets frustrated, and this is number 8. So number 7 is when he gets angry, I get compassionate. And number 8 is when he gets frustrated or when she gets frustrated, I get playful. Now, these are things I found that have been working for me and some of my clients actually. And if you have found, I would try them. Try them before you write them off, as they won't work for you. Try them. Because I guarantee you, when you do, light bulbs will go off. I will tell you, after the first, I think it was the first or second day we came home from this conference, me and my husband, and we're walking into our front door past our new lawn, because we just had these guys lay down this turf. We had dead grass for 2 years because it doesn't grow with all the trees we had. So finally, we decided to pull the trigger, put turf down so my kids can play around without getting muddy shoes every day in their swing and outside. We put turf in, they pulled out all the bushes and trees around our house, and my husband's like, let's figure out what kind of plants you want outside of the front of the house. Now, anybody who's renovated a house or renovated their lawn or built a house knows that this is not always the least conflict prone activity you can do with your spouse. Things arise. You may have arguments. You may have fights. And this might have been a little bit of a trigger. I'm not quite sure now that I think back to it. But I didn't know what plants I wanted in the front of my house. You know what I knew? I knew what plants I didn't want. So I started with that. I said, well, I don't want those tall, stringy green plants with the little red tassels at the top. And and Victor's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because he could see the energy, right? The energy was just getting a little bit angry from my face. Because I was jumping to what I didn't want. And so what I did want. And Victor's like, so you saw him take a breath, because I'm here like getting frustrated and angry, and steam's coming out of my ears, thinking about what plants I don't want, because that's where my brain went at the moment. And not to mention, it's like midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning and exhausted. And he's like, takes a breath. And he replies with, I love you. Remember what we learned today. It doesn't matter what you don't want. What matters is what you do want. And he said it in the most even-keeled, calm tone, loving and compassionate that you could imagine. And here I was being angry and frustrated. And one of the things that I thought I had realized, when he gets angry, I get compassionate, he was using on me. When she gets angry, I get compassionate. He took a breath, because he could have easily, right, have gotten angry back and frustrated back. He took a breath. He started with, I love you, Kate. Let's not focus on what you don't want. Let's focus on what you do want. Of course, I didn't know. So then we just went on with, okay, we're going to look it up. We'll investigate. When I got angry, he got compassionate. And I'm not wanting you to tell this to your spouses today and right now. What I want you to do is use it yourself. So when he gets angry, when they get angry, you get compassionate. And number 8, when they get frustrated, you get playful. You could do that a number of ways. You could make a joke. You could make a funny face. You could go hug them in a playful way. You could say, oh, well, what about if you don't want the tall, stringy green plants with the red tassels on the top? What if we just planted like those metal flowers you see on the side of the road when we drive out in the country, or those plastic figures? I mean, would that be fun? What if we just put blow-up characters for every holiday and just change them in and out? That could be playful. Like, you get to think creatively instead of in this little tiny little box. So I'm going to go through the 8 steps once more for how to create more love, compassion, and playfulness in your relationship. This especially works when you are in a place that's not love and compassion and playfulness. This works when you think things like, they don't love me anymore. And follow up to that initial story at the beginning of my call. So she did leave a message for him, who lives all the way in Georgia, I believe, across the seas, over near the, was that Eastern Europe? My geography is failing me right now. But she's from a different country, so that's where she called him, left a message, a very, very loving message, just mentioning about how, she probably didn't really take into account how hurt he was at the moment, and she would like to see him, and she would like to hear from him again. And she was letting love guide her, and Tony, her coach. And she said, if you don't call me back, Dad, I will be showing up on your doorstep. I would love for you to go out to dinner with me. I want you to put that white suit on, and I'd love for you to bring my stepmom or his wife. And not even a week later, she called him back. And we know that because we're in the same Facebook community. Her father called her back, and she had tears of joy, and there were thousands of just heartfelt congratulatory comments. And this can happen to you too. It might not take an intervention with Tony. It could be your own soul searching and self-coaching, or it could be a simple call with me. But let me just go over those 8 steps. So, number 1, review your manual. Draw awareness to what your manual is about your lover, your spouse, this other person in your relationship. Number 2, write down any thought errors or any lies little gnomes in your brain may be telling you. Write down all your thoughts, actually. If you can't decipher which ones are errors and which ones are real, write them all down and then label fact or fiction. Okay? Circle the facts, set those aside. Now cross out the fiction, star those, and go pick a couple that you want to take and move to. Number 3, can you imagine it any other way? And if you cannot imagine it any other way, then continue this. Continue the number 3. Imagine it. Imagine it another way. Okay, close your eyes. Put yourself in in an environment, in a situation where you can, or get yourself somebody to help you imagine it another way. Number 4, make sure you tell them what you want, what you're wanting. Did you tell them that you wanted them to greet you every time you walked through the front door? Did you tell them that you wanted a cuddle every time you got into bed and they were already in there looking at their cell phone? Did you tell them that you wanted an hour every night cell phone free so that you could just connect? Did you tell them that? Because if you didn't, they would never know. And even if you did, okay, well, let's move on to number 5. Who would you be without number 1 and number 2, without this manual and without these thought errors, without this fiction? Who would you be? Number 6, who do you want to be? Is it number 5? Is it who you would be? Is it something different? Who do you want to be? Because you have to know what you want, not just what you don't want in order to get there, right? You'll get there much faster if you know exactly who you want to be. Number 7, these mantras, these incantations you can take and put on your nightstand, put them on your phone as alerts, put them next to your bed. When he gets angry, when she gets angry, when they get angry, I get compassionate. And when he gets frustrated, I get playful. So please take these 8 simple steps and pump more love, playfulness, and compassion into your relationship. Let the sparks fly. So much love to you and your spouse. If you are finding the concepts I teach in these episodes useful and want more in-depth and personalized support for your relationship, consider this your invitation to join me in creating the most connected and intimate relationship with your spouse that you could dream of. Go to www.medicinemarriageandmoney.com right now and download my 18-page medical marriage survival guide and workbook at no cost to you. I also have a 6-day marriage challenge, which goes over the 6 predictors of divorce at no cost to you. These have been known to decrease fighting, rumination, and grudges between you and your loved one. If you want to take it a step farther, really enhance the joy and connection in the most intimate relationship in your life, sign up for my 8-week Making Marriage Work program today at medicinemarriageandmoney.com. Thanks for leaving us a stellar review, subscribing, and sharing with your friends on social media. You have the power to improve someone else's life and marriage simply by sharing this episode. Much love to you and your spouse. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment. Adios, my friends. The content of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or financial advice. The opinions provided on this episode are those of myself or the invited guest alone. They do not represent the opinions of any particular institution. Always seek the advice of your physician or financial advisor with any questions you may have of a medical condition or financial plan. This is for your entertainment only.